We have to begin the week on a bit of a somber note by announcing the passing of the great Bernard Hill. You might recall he was Captain Smith for James Cameron in Titanic in 1997, but a couple of years later he would have his most famous role as King Théoden in Two Towers and Return of the King. Yes, we're talking about the greatest cinematic... No, let me scratch that for a second. The greatest trilogy in all of entertainment. I don't care what medium it is. The Lord of the Rings is top tier, and it will always remain top tier. What else? What else that's on the horizon has the opportunity to be as influential, impactful 20 years on as Lord of the Rings? And whenever there's an opportunity to gush about the brilliance with anyone involved with that, I'm gonna take that. Now, growing up, of course, everybody had their favorite character, right? Popular picks, Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen, the way that he completely and totally delved into the role of the King of Gondor, a very obvious pick for somebody's favorite character. And I wouldn't hold that against you, of course. Then you have Ian McKellen's Gandalf. Come on, man. What else do you have to say about that? But as I've grown older, and as I've gone back to this trilogy time and time again, Theoden started to rise the ranks all the way until it's like, oh, okay, cool. Even though he was only introduced in the second film, and this was the one growing up. I've seen Two Towers more than the other installments in the trilogy. Perhaps that elevates him in my own personal rankings, but as a trilogy, even if you said, Merry or Pippin's your favorite character, you have good reason for it. But Theoden, every single time that he's on screen, okay, he has 3 of the best speeches literally ever, okay? Putting on his armor at the beginning of Helm's Deep. Do you trust your king? Riding out with Aragorn after everything else is seemingly lost, sounding the horn, now for wrath, now for ruin, now for the Red Dawn. Like, come on, man, just in Two Towers alone. And then, of course, his speech at the beginning of the Ride of the Rohirrim in Pelennor Fields. It's so fantastic. The guy was brilliant. I encourage you, if it's been a while since and especially in today's media landscape, if you have not gone back and dedicated some time to rewatching those 3 films, you're going to be setting yourself up well this weekend. Okay, watch the extended cuts if you never have. They're available on every medium possible. I've got my 4Ks, I've got the Blu-rays. I don't trust digital streaming stuff because I don't want them to touch any of it. Okay, please, you're setting yourself up for, if you're watching the extended cuts, just about 10-12 hours of content this weekend, because nothing else good is going to be coming out, at least for about a month. I got House of the Dragon, which was, built off of the back of J.R.R. Tolkien's masterworks by a hack who's never going to finish the books. But let's talk about Bernard Hill and his passing, regrettably. Bernard Hill, the actor known for playing King Théoden in the Lord of the Rings trilogy and Captain Edward Smith in Titanic, has died, yes, at 79. Hill died early on Sunday morning. His agent Lou Coulson confirmed to Variety he was with his fiancée Allison and his son Gabriel. No cause of death was given. Well, 79, Hill first came to prominence as Yosser Hughes in Alan Beesdale's 1982 miniseries Boys from the Black Stuff. I'm not even going to pretend to know what that is, but if that was his breakout role, that's his breakout role. His character, known for his Giza Job catchphrase. That same year, he portrayed Sergeant Putnam in the Richard Attenborough-directed film Gandhi. Oh, okay, I've heard of that. Hill appeared in multiple British television series during the 70s and 80s, including I, Claudius, Crown Court, Rooms, Fox, and Jackanory. 97, Hill played Captain Smith in James Cameron's Titanic, which won 11 Oscars. He then joined Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings franchise as King Théoden, appearing in 2002, The Two Towers, and 2003's Return of the King, which also nabbed 11 Oscars. Incredibly justified. I remember, that was when the Oscars actually mattered. That was when you would sit around with your family, just rooting for a film that you seen and, hoping that they won everything, and everything that Return of the King was nominated for, it ended up winning. I would say that, Fellowship and Two Towers got robbed. Should have won Best Picture every single year, but it's the Oscars. They were even still flumpy back when they were good. Yes, Hill appeared in 2 of the 3 films with the most Academy Awards of all time to date. Yes, Ben-Hur also nominated for 11. It's kind of crazy, right? Like, you think about how his career stacks up to other people's, and who else can plausibly say that they are in 2 of the most decorated and celebrated films of all time, and nobody look at him and go, you were only playing bit parts. It's like, no, you were the Captain Titanic, and you were the best king, the best trilogy ever. Like, fantastic, man. And like so many people associated with the Lord of the Rings franchise, he held his part, he held his role near and dear to his heart, and that's why so many people held him in such high regards, because when flumpy Rings of Power came out a couple of years ago, Bernard was asked for his opinion on it, and he hated it. Absolutely hated it. And given the fact that we're apparently supposed to be getting another dolloping towards the end of the year, maybe potentially Amazon's just going to drop everything wholesale, which would be hilarious. Imagine spending $1 billion to get to some of the rights just so you could bastardize some of the Silmarillion lore, only for your first season to go up completely in smoke, not get nominated for anything, not even be remembered months after. No, of course not, weeks after its conclusion, and nobody looking forward to a second season outside of people just wanting to cover it and just going, how bad can this actually get? But the best thing about that is nobody considers it canon. Even as flumpy as the Hobbit trilogy is, they know that most of the people that worked on that, gave it a fair shot. It was Warner Brothers that, completely and totally screwed that up. But underneath there are some fan cuts that are on the internet where you can find a pretty good movie somewhere in the trilogy. But when it comes to Rings of Power, nobody defends that shit. It's terrible. You got a backstory for Mordor and the fact that it was created by a homeless man twisting a sword into a rock. I wish I was joking. But Bernard Hill was not a fan of The Lord of the Rings, and there was a spin-off, The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Just call it Rings of Power. You don't need to besmirch the name of The Lord of the Rings by affixing it to that. The actor, yes, who passed away the morning of May 5th at age 79, played King Théoden of Rohan in Peter Jackson trilogy, but had some negative opinions on the Amazon Prime Video show. He claimed the series, which debuted in 2022, and we'll see a second season premiere this year. Don't know for sure, though. You'd think that they would have some marketing out for it at this point in time, a trailer or something. No. Don't worry about it. Was a money-making scheme and had no interest in watching it. Hill hit out at Rings of Power during an interview with Metro when he was asked if he watched the show and its 8-episode premiere. Hill snapped back, no, not interested. It's a money-making venture, and I'm not interested in watching that or being in it, Hill said. Good luck to them and all that stuff, but it's not like the real thing. You'd be correct. Hill was asked if the Lord of the Rings franchise should have ended after Jackson wrapped his original trilogy with The Return of the King. The actor replied completely, yes, before adding that even Jackson's Hobbit trilogy was pushing it. Yeah, because, oh my god, the production problems behind that trilogy, which was started out as a duology and then got expanded because Warner Brothers is a stupid company. That's an entire story to tell at a later date, but they did it well. They did it really, really well, Bernard said about this. They expanded it, but I think you can only stretch a piece of elastic so far, and I think they managed it with The Hobbit because there were some really good things in The Hobbit, without a doubt. The showrunners of the series mapped out 5 seasons for, yes, The Rings of Power years ago, but I would be surprised if it gets anywhere past the second, maybe a third season. It's not getting those 5 seasons. Nobody cares about it. Emblematic by the fact that, yeah, it's supposed to come out this year, I think, potentially, maybe, who knows, and we haven't heard hide nor hair of it. But going back to Bernard and the fact that he has a legacy that the Rings of Power never will. The Hobbits, right? The Hobbits were at a Comic-Con somewhere, Manchester or somewhere like that. But obviously with the news of Bernard's passing being announced and everybody having good things to say about him, well, let's just hear from people who were working with him during those incredible times. Starring hobbits from The Lord of the Rings stood together to pay tribute to Bernard Hill this evening, hours after he died, age 79. The Manchester-born actor, yes, shot to fame, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to retread that. Elijah Wood, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, and Sean Astin, who played, yes, the 4 hobbits in the trilogy. Yes, of course, Frodo, I was right. Pippin, Merry, and Sam, of course, stood on stage as they told fans they lost a member of our family today. Well, yes. Aston, who played Samwise Gamgee, led the homage, telling the crowd we lost a member of our family this morning. Bernard passed, like King Théoden did. We want to take a moment before we go off stage to honor him. He was supposed to be here yesterday. We love him. So intrepid. He was funny. He was gruff. He was irascible. I haven't heard that word before. That's a new one. He was beautiful. Billy Boyd, who was Pippin, added, we were watching and talking about the movies, and I said to Dom, I don't think anyone spoke Tolkien's words as great as Bernard did. The way he grounded those words, he would break my heart on screen. Yep. His final words to Éowyn at Pelennor Fields, it's like, oh man, those little quiet moments that you don't see performances like that anymore. A few and far between. He was a wonderful man, and he will be sorely missed. Very much so, man. Very much so. But the bittersweetness of this is it's a good opportunity to remind you just how brilliant he actually was, just how brilliant the character of King Théoden is, and how much and how revered his performance was, and how many people that affected. So yes, of course, condolences to the Hill family. And like I said at the beginning, if you have the opportunity in the near future, if you're looking for something good to watch, you too can draw swords together with the great King Théoden. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.